Hello and welcome to the start of this, what is the My Team Career Mode.
Not only as a driver, but as the owner of a brand new F1 team. First things first, let's choose your character. Nice. Now, some kind of income stream is critical, so we need to sign a primary sponsor. Our primary sponsor will pay a signing bonus to the team up front. This is vital to cover the early investments we need to make. They will also provide valuable weekly income for us. Each sponsor has a goal that they want the team to achieve. If we hit that goal, the sponsor will pay us an additional goal bonus.
I have decided to sign Shark to the car because of the £4.9 million payout. Also, it only requires 5 points to complete the sponsor bonus.
So let's sign a power unit supplier now. We need both performance and durability from our power unit, but we also need to balance the books. We're going to have a lot of other areas to invest our cash into. We almost have all
The engine that I have chosen is the Renault engine, because it is the cheapest and most powerful all-round engine.
These are the drivers available to be your first teammate. They all have their own strengths and weaknesses, so consider everything when deciding who to hire. Drivers earn acclaim based on their performances. When a driver earns enough acclaim, they will level up. The higher a driver's level, the more acclaim they'll earn for their current team. And remember, the faster the team levels up, the faster our income will increase. The higher a driver's experience, the more resource points are earned to spend on vehicle upgrades. Racecraft is the driver's skill to effectively complete overtakes when opportunities arise. Awareness shows the driver's ability to avoid errors and incidents. Pace describes the driver's ability to set competitive lap times. Rating is a summary of the driver's overall skill level.
Mick Schumacher will be our second driver for the team in the first season.
Go ahead and confirm if you're happy. Let's select or edit the livery we'll be running this season. We can add more sponsors to the car as we sign them throughout the year. And don't worry, we can edit our look at any time from HQ. Now we need a badge for our team branding. Select an existing badge, edit it, or create one from scratch.
When speaking to Will Buxton, what you say will have drastic effects on what happens to your car.
Okay, we're live in 5, 4, 3.
Hello folks and welcome to the HQ of Formula One's newest team. We've been invited backstage to gain an exclusive insight into what could be one of the most exciting entries in the sport for many years. Now, we've seen a number of new teams enter the sport over the last decade, amongst their number Manor, Caterham, HRT and of course Haas. And while some have proved to be successful, others have morphed into different teams and some have disappeared completely. What marks this team out though as being something different is that its owner is also its driver. There's a rich history of that in Formula One too. Sir Jack Brabham, John Surtees, Graham Hill and Bruce McLaren all drove their own cars in the sport, but it has become increasingly rare in recent years. What's very special about this team though is that while the team itself is new to Formula One, so too is its driver and owner.
Whatever happens this season, you've already made the history books. Tell me, do you feel up to the mammoth task of both managing and driving for a Formula One team?
I went for this option because it talks more of the team rather than the individual driver itself.
Every team needs 2 drivers, but what was it that drew you to your teammates?
The reason why I went for our teammate Mick Schumacher is because he was what the team was looking for with his skill level.
No one aims to finish bottom of the table. Who's the team you're aiming to be?
For this question, I tried to set quite a reasonable goal by trying to beat AlphaTauri in the Constructors' Championship.
How are you expecting the car to feel out on track?
Out of this option to try and improve how the chassis feels on the car when we get to Australia.
The other teams now have years of experience, both on and off the track. How are you planning to catch up to them?
For this question, out of this option because we don't know how the car is going to behave when we get on track in practice 1.
Overtaking is a key part of this sport. How have you ensured that your car can take advantage of each opportunity that comes your way?
When answering this question, I was trying to improve the top speed and how the car handles into the corners.
Which of your new departments are you most proud of?
So for the final question, I have just complimented Renault for the engines that they have supplied to our team for this season.
Well, that's about all we've got time for here. We will see how this fledgling team fares in its first Grand Prix.
Okay, great, thank you. That's a wrap.
Interview boss, you nailed exactly what the team's been working on. When you've got time, check the R&D tree to see our current progress and where we think there's room for more. And while you're at it, why not take a stroll around HQ and check on how the team's doing? This is where you can view our current facilities and the effects they're having on the business. You can also invest some of our cash into upgrades for these facilities. It's important to use the time between races to the fullest extent, and that's where these activities come in. Manage everyone's time as efficiently as possible to maximize the team's performance.
We have a few days to allot an activity before we go to the car lunch, so I have decided to allot the pre-season merch sale so we will get some extra cash from that for our team. Let's advance the time as we make a bit of money from the pre-season merch sale, and let's head for the car launch.
Hey boss, this is Jeff. Just wanted to say thanks for trusting me as your race engineer. I won't let you down. The car is ready to go, but it's brand new of course, so there may be a few issues here and there. We'll be keeping a close eye on all the data. Let's get a few laps under our belt.
It feels great to be driving a car that we have been able to design from scratch. In this career mode, I will not be showing the practice sessions because they are basically the same as the last 4 versions of the F1 game. And our 4th lap, we are sitting in P16. Currently, we are trying to make up time on our previous best lap. Moving on to later in the lap, we are 1 second up on our previous lap, and we have a purple second sector. As we go around the last corner, we're starting to lose time. Back on the straight, we're starting to gain time. That last lap puts us into P11, and that is Q2 in our first race. On our first lap in Q2, we catch the curves and crash into the wall, and we lose our front wing.
We're seeing major wing damage. Box, box, box.
Moving on to our second lap, we are currently sitting in P16 with less than 1 minute to set a lap, so we'll only get a chance to set one lap in Q2. We're currently losing time to the cars in front of us, so we think we'll only be able to qualify in P16. At the end of the lap, we come across the line to finish the session in P16 in our first race.
Months of rumour and speculation all come to an end today, as we return to Melbourne for the opening race of what promises to be an enthralling season. Welcome along then to the Australian Grand Prix. The Melbourne circuit is certainly one that needs to be taken seriously. Its combination of slippery surfaces and difficult corners make it a tricky track when it comes to overtakes. Drivers find it hard to pass and will need to take full advantage of those DRS zones if they want to have any hope of breaking through. Can Mercedes start with victory in their bid to win a 7th consecutive Constructors' title? Could Ferrari or Red Bull establish an advantage early on? And with 22 cars on the grid, how quickly can the new team find their footing? Well, it's great to be back, Anthony Davidson. We've got a lot to talk about this year.
That's right, Crofty. It felt like a long winter, but it's good to finally be back. I have to think the usual suspects will battle it out at the front, but there are always going to be some teething problems early on in the season, so whoever can keep on top of their issues will have the advantage today.
As I mentioned earlier, we're up to 11 teams this season, with a new entry run by, well, of all things, an owner-driver. That's something we haven't seen in this sport since Hector Raback over 4 decades ago. So how are they looking so far?
It's hard to imagine how a small operation like that could survive in the ruthless world of Formula One. And yet here they are, first ever race looking surprisingly strong. But there are no points for qualifying. Let's see how they fare in the Grand Prix proper.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Albon, Max Verstappen and Vettel, Sainz, Norris, Ricciardo and Daniel Kvyat, Stroll, Perez, Esteban Ocon and Gasly, Iceman, Giovinazzi, Kevin Magnussen and Mick Schumacher, Grosjean, Russell, Raikkonen, they've taken a grid penalty, and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway.
So the strategy that we'll be using is a soft to medium one stop for the race. Lights out, and away we go for the start of the My Team career. As we head into the first corner, we already have made up 2 positions off the line. Heading into the second corner, we make contact with Daniel Kvyat.
Okay, that's a good start. Keep it up.
Skipping ahead to the end of the first lap, and we have already made up 4 positions. The driver that is in front is Pierre Gasly. Lewis Hamilton has set the fastest lap of a 1:33. We are still having to use the ERS to try and catch up with Pierre Gasly. Later on lap 2, we make contact with the back of Gasly's AlphaTauri and spins around in the middle of the track in front of us, and we lose part of our front wing. We'll be sure to see the incident from a different angle. As you can see, I take full responsibility for this racing incident.
In for his...
Moving on to lap 3, we're still in P10, just in front of Sergio Perez, and Mick Schumacher is making a very early pit stop. Most of the drivers are probably on a one stop for this race. Skipping to the start of lap 4, we're having to use all our ERS to stay in front of Sergio Perez, who is less than 1 second behind us.
front is 6.5 seconds. Be aware, there's an incident in the next part of the track. No overtaking through the yellow flags. Caution, caution.
Later on lap 4, we are being promoted into P9 because of Alexander Albon's retirement. Moving on to the start of lap 5, we still have Sergio Perez chasing us down, and we are having to use all our ERS to try and hold the position. Skipping to the end of lap 5, and we have contact with Perez. He forces us onto the grass and we lose 2 positions to Perez and Gasly. Lap 6, we are back in P11 and we are chasing down Pierre Gasly. We are having to use all the rich mix and ERS to catch the 2 cars in front.
We're at +1 lap of extra fuel. Fuel target +1.
Later on lap 6, we are in P11, with Gasly 1 second in front and Stroll 1 second behind. We are using a lot of ERS to bridge the gap.
We want to pit this lap, so push now.
Moving on to lap 7, our pit window is open. We are going to go on to the medium tyres, and we are still behind Gasly and Perez. At the end of lap 7, we are making our pit stop to go into a set of medium tyres, and we need to have a front wing change.
Go, go. You'll be racing on the exit.
It was a very slow stop of 9.5 seconds, and that brings us out in front of Esteban Ocon.
Exit will receive a penalty for dangerous driving if you cross over into the track.
A little bit later on lap 8, we are in P13 with Esteban Ocon less than 1 second behind us.
Okay.
Moving on to the start of lap 9, we have been promoted to P11 because 2 other cars have made their pit stops. As we go around the second corner, we run wide trying to keep Esteban Ocon behind us. Moving later on lap 9, we have received confirmation that George Russell has retired from the race.
Okay, clear.
Lap 10, Pierre Gasly is 11 seconds in front of us. We're using the ERS to try and catch up. Also, we still have Esteban Ocon less than a second behind us.
Some information on Kvyat. They seem to have an issue. There's 5 laps of fuel remaining.
Moving on to lap 11, Ocon is trying to overtake us with ERS. We are having to use the ERS to stay in front. Lap 12, and we're starting to put some distance between us and Ocon. We are trying to finish this race in P11 after a poor qualifying position. A bit later on lap 12, Esteban Ocon is trying the overtake on us and fails to pass us.
There's 3 laps of fuel remaining.
Lap 13, and we're still in P11, with Gasly in front and Ocon behind us. Lap 14, the penultimate lap of the race, and we're starting to lose grip in our tyres. And we're starting to run out of fuel.
This is your
the final lap of the race, and we are pulling away from Ocon, but we still have 13 seconds to Gasly and Perez. Later on the final lap, there had been contact between myself and Esteban Ocon. We have been dropped into P16 behind Antonio Giovinazzi, and Lewis Hamilton has won the first race of the season. Let's take a look at the crash from a different angle. As you can see, we have turned into Ocon's car and spun around.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
As we cross the line in P16, Kimi Raikkonen gets the drive of the day, and our teammate Mick Schumacher finishes in P18.
So, another fantastic victory for the Silver Arrows. So, Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection, a shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes. Let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. Lewis Hamilton takes the lead of the Drivers' Championship. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for Driver of the Day?
Well, for me, it's got to be Lewis Hamilton. The multiple world champion may be the boring choice at this point, but you can't argue that he's a driver deserving of his reputation.
Let's move on to the Constructors. Mercedes move to the top of the table. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time? Be sure to join us again as we continue to bring you the latest excitement in Formula One.
So if you like that, be sure to like, subscribe and share. And until next time, goodbye.